Ayubowan. May you have a long life. I'm Dr. Samanthi, Academic Director of Institute of Mathematics and Management, Sri Lanka and Australia, and a researcher of Western Sydney University, Australia. Today I am going to talk about measuring psychometric variables using a newly developed Sama Radial indicator, or SRI. Psychometrics is a discipline related to statistics, data theory, econometrics, biometrics, measurement theory, and mathematical psychology. It is not just a single discipline, it is related to many other disciplines. In psychometric, measuring psychometric variables means we attempt to measure and quantify the mental process that influence behavior of people. So these variables are called psychometric variables. They are not directly observed, therefore inferred from other variables, other observable variables. Such hidden variables are called latent variables. In research, we are always talking about variables. All the variables can be categorized into one of these things in this diagram. Firstly, variables can be divided into two parts as quantitative variables and qualitative variables. Then quantitative variables can again divide into two parts as discrete and continuous. There are 4 measurement scales used to measure the variables. Interval and ratio scales are used to measure the quantitative variables, and nominal and ordinal scales are used to measure the qualitative variables. Psychometric variables are qualitative variables measured by the ordinal scale. I am repeating, psychometric variables are qualitative variables measured by the measurement scale ordinal. Likert scales are well-known measurement scales used to measure psychometric variables. I'm sure you all know the Likert scale. Likert 3-point scale, 5-point scale, 7 scale, like strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. So we all use these scales, maybe 5 scale or 7 scale. Likert scale assigns codes or ranks, numerical values to categories. Strongly disagree, we put 1, agree is 2, neutral is 3, likewise. So this measurement scale was developed by Francis Likert in 1932 as his PhD thesis. There, what he suggested was, for single variable, use several items or questions, and then use this method to get the respond, and take the total of the item ranks as the outcome of the random variable. So this was a very useful technique. It has been widely applied all over the world. However, there are some weaknesses in the Likert scales. What was the research problem of developing Sama Radial indicator? As I told you, researchers in the fields of psychology, education, business, marketing, medicine, and healthcare, like so many areas of studies, need to measure the attitudes, beliefs, and traits of individuals. Conventional psychometric theory is based on the classic true score model invented by Spearman, 1904. It is assumed that measurements of latent variables follow true score model. True score model is observed score is equal to true score plus the random error. This model, true score model, assumes that this random error component occur during the act of measurement and caused entirely by the respondent. However, later some studies clearly shown that much bigger error is caused by the measurement, not the rater. Likert scale has several limitations or weaknesses. It has limited number of response options. A good measurement scale should have higher number of response options, but if you consider Likert 5 scale, it has only 5 options: strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree likewise. So only limited number of options. If we increase the number of options, like Likert 7-point scale, including strongly agree, moderately agree, slightly agree likewise, it has higher response options compared to 5 scale, but meaning is not clear. Like when we say slightly agree and moderately agree, what does it clearly mean? The rater will get confused. So the rule of a good measurement scale is it should have higher response options, a neutral point, and the meanings of the anchors should be clearly identified. Another problem of the Likert scales is variables measured by Likert scales are very unlikely to be normally distributed. If the variables are normally distributed, only we can use the Z-test, ANOVA, etc. As Likert shown in 1932 his PhD study, if 10 to 25 items or questions are used to measure one latent variable and rank summation is taken as the outcome, then the variables may be approximately normally distributed. However, using 10 to 25 items or questions for one variable leads to higher non-response rate and many other problems. As such, developing a suitable item scale to mitigate the limitations of polytomous rating scales, including the Likert scale, was the solution to this problem. The study of Konarasinghe 2023 was aimed to fill the knowledge gap. Sama radial indicator, or SRI, is developed using the properties of a circle. In this measurement scale, there are 3 anchors: completely disagree, completely agree, and neutral. So this you can consider as a speedometer of a vehicle. It is moving from completely disagree to completely agree through the neutral midpoint. Here, arc length is the variable, but arc length is equal r theta by the properties of circle. Arc length equal to radius into theta in radians. R is a constant. Therefore, arc length or this angle can be taken as the variable. When using the Likert scale, we didn't have large number of options. But in contrast, Sama radial indicator has higher response options. This is what we use in questionnaire. You all are familiar with this diagram. Protector. Completely disagrees at 0, at 90 neutral, 180 completely agree. We don't put numbers here. So the rater or the respondent has 180 response options. Say for example, if the Eurasia Research want to know what the participants think about their conference, they give this statement: this conference is very useful. The rater can give his or her response on this circular arc. Can put the tick here. Then the researcher can read the value. That means angle, or using S equal r theta can get the arc length. It's very easy. Respondent need not to think about anything, as he or she feels how close to this anchor or this anchor or this one. Put a tick on the circumference of the circle. Very easy. For the convenience of researcher, these ranges are defined, but we are not showing them to the respondents. So they are given only that diagram, and for your reference, these intervals are defined. I'm telling you, do not compare this method with the Likert scale. They are totally different techniques. So these intervals have nothing to do with the Likert scale. So they are totally different methods. An efficient measurement scale should contain higher response options, but each response should be clearly differentiated from the others. There should be a neutral midpoint. The Likert scale satisfied some of the properties, but it has some weaknesses. As I said earlier, achieving the normality of random variables is very unlikely. Hence, parametric statistical techniques are not appropriate for data analysis when the variables are measured by Likert scales. Power of parametric statistical techniques are higher than the non-parametric counterparts. That means Z-test, ANOVA. They are parametric tests. And Kruskal-Wallis test, Run's test, they are non-parametric tests. So the power of parametric statistical techniques are much higher than the non-parametric counterparts. As such, what the researchers do is they use Likert scale for measuring the psychometric variables, and without checking whether the normality criteria is met, they simply use the parametric methods. It is abusing Likert scale as well as abusing other parametrical statistical techniques. Sama radial indicator satisfies the properties of a good item scale, and very easily, don't need to take several items. Even taking one item or one question for one random variable, the random variable become continuous. Therefore, parametric statistical techniques can be used without any problem. And as I told you earlier, Sama radial indicator has 180 response options. Neutral midpoint also there. So, the decade-old problem in measuring psychometric variables is solved. These are my references. For the first time, I got to know about this problem in Likert scale is 2014. I was able to develop a suitable method in 2023. Several years gone. It happened for me to spend my time for several years. That is the way developing new things. The things won't come overnight. We have to determine, we have to dedicate, and then only we can do it. We have to practice our theories, what we learn in school, what we learn in university, we have to practice them. Then only we can do something good or perfect. I take this opportunity to thank Eurasia Research. I have been with them for over the last few years. I really appreciate their effort on conducting quality international research conferences. Thank you for listening to me. This is the time for questions and answers.